Hi, and welcome to the Room of Rock with Ted and I. Now, this time in the Room of Rock, following on from our review of our budget ribbon microphone, which you can see there, we're going to record the audio for the video on this microphone, but we're recording it straight into Reaper via my Audient ID14 interface. And as I mentioned in that video, the first video, ribbon microphones generally, unless they're active, are very gain hungry, so their output is low, so they need a good preamp to boost the signal. Now currently at the moment I'll pick the Audient up and try and get it in shot so you can see, but it's set at nearly maximum gain to get a level that I can use for recording. Now the microphone's set probably about 12 inches away from me, and it's off axis to try and limit any plosives or anything, but it just gives you an idea of how much gain you need. So bear with me, I'll pick the Audient up. Now there you go. I don't know whether you can see that, whether we need to move the camera in a little bit, but the gain currently on this is running at around I'd say 95% of maximum. So I've yet to hear if that's generating any hiss. I mean, to be fair, the preamp on the Audient is very good, but really it's never great to be running anything that far up near max. So with that in mind, I decided to have a look online at what I could do to boost the signal, and also taking the advice of my friend Les, who's got something similar. I picked up this, which is a Klark Teknik mic booster CT1. Now the idea of this, I'll open it up and show you what we've got. It's a bit like the FET head or the cloud lifter. So basically, there you go, you plug that in the microphone in the XLR point at the bottom, and then you plug your XLR lead into that, and then you fire up phantom power, which is something we mentioned last time. You know, these microphones are supposedly sensitive to and don't normally like. The good thing with this is, whilst it uses phantom power to power, there must be a built-in preamp in here. It doesn't pass it on to the microphone. So this wouldn't work with a condenser microphone. It would work with any kind of dynamic or ribbon microphone and boost the signal, but it wouldn't work with a condenser because it wouldn't be passing on any power to power the built-in preamp. But then if you've got a condenser microphone already with a preamp in it, you wouldn't want one of these anyway. So the idea is then that sits plugged into the microphone, cable goes into that, you fire up phantom power, and this gives up to 25 dB of boost. So it should mean that I can cut the preamp volumes or the preamp trim right back, so which is always a good thing. It means there should be less chance of background noise. And also, if you're running things like a long cable, maybe if you're recording some friends in a room, and you had to use longer leads, then that would help with signal loss over the longer leads. So what we'll do, we'll plug it in and have a look and see what that's doing to our gain levels. Currently, as I talk, I think we're hitting around -10, -12 dB on the meter. I don't know whether you can see that flickering up there, but you know that should be flickering up to about -10, maybe touching -12 at louder points. But as I say, the pre-gain on channel 1 is pretty well at 95%. So anyway, let's try this. Let's plug her in and see if it does make any difference. If it A, makes a difference to the signal, and B, doesn't increase noise, it's no good it actually amplifying if the thing then generates a load of hiss and makes it unusable. The reason I went for this one was, believe it or not, that was £17. So that's very cheap. It's all metal construction. It feels very well made. You know, it feels like it'd give a lot of service and would take a drop. Not that you want to do that, but if it got accidentally dropped, I would think it'd survive that all right. And I had to pay delivery on top of that, but £17. Things like the cloud lifter and the fat head, which are similar things to this, are way more than that. You know, I think they're nearly £100 and over £100 comparatively. So £17, I thought that was worth a punt to see whether it actually does what it's meant to do. So let's plug it in and see what we think. Well, if you like what we do here in the Room of Rock, please think about giving us the old thumbs up and maybe even subscribing. Means a lot to us. Means a lot to young Teddy Boy back there. And it encourages us to make more online content. We've got a few ideas for new videos, and as we're currently in lockdown, or rockdown as Ted calls it, we've got a little bit more time on our hands to make some. So don't forget to click the old notification bell, and then you'll know when new stuff is uploaded. Well, hopefully you can see that now with the mic booster turned on, and me speaking a similar distance from the microphone. I've now turned the gain back to about 75%. So I would question 25 dB of boost. I was expecting to turn it down a bit lower than that, but it does mean that makes a big difference. If I was to turn that right round to where it was, that would be right up here somewhere and distorting heavily, I'm sure. I could do that just out of interest, and we can see we can always use it as an experiment. So if I put the gain back to roughly where it was, the gain was about there. You can see how that shot up, and that must be distorting terribly now. So I've moved the gain back. I'm moving the gain back. Now hopefully that's about right there. So that does give us more headroom on the microphone, and I've yet to listen back to it to see whether it's induced any hiss on the track. Hopefully not, and then it'll be a goodbye. And the other good thing is that, and we'll prove it, I'll put a meter on it to check there's no phantom power getting through. It would protect your ribbon microphone or sensitive microphones from any damage potentially from phantom power getting turned on accidentally if it was left on the microphone. The only disadvantage for me with that is the fact that the microphone won't fit back in the case like that, and obviously being a more delicate microphone, it's not something you want to be leaving lying around. It's nice to put it away so that it can't get knocked or damaged. But I'll listen back to the audio, see what I think, and I'll sum up my thoughts. Well, I know this is a bit Heath Robinson, but just to check whether we get any of the phantom power going through to the microphone with the booster in place, we'll check it with a meter. So I'm currently still recording with the ribbon microphone, but the booster's not in place, and that's on channel 1. Channel 2 is just plugged into the multimeter here. So at the moment, with phantom power off, it's showing no voltage. So I'll turn on phantom power, and as you can see, hopefully that needle swung across there. That's now showing about 48 volts of phantom power. So that's the cable direct without the booster in place. So we'll turn off the phantom power. I'll clip the booster in, and we'll see whether any voltage still gets across. Hopefully you can see that now. So I've got the booster on the red cable connected to the meter. Phantom power is off. I should now flick it on for channel 2, and the meter's not moved, so that's good. So that's isolating phantom power getting into the microphone. Hopefully you can see that. So there's no voltage there at all, on or off. so that's good. It's not actually transferring any phantom power, so the microphone will be protected should it inadvertently get turned on when it wasn't required, maybe. Well, I've now had a chance to listen back to the audio, and obviously you can listen to the audio. We're using the booster now, it's sitting there with phantom power turned on, so anything recorded at this point is actually going through the booster. So maybe if you put headphones on or something, you could actually analyse this against earlier conversation without the booster in place, and it's easy to see when we're using it because obviously it's sitting there on the bottom of the microphone, which is in shot. I'd have liked in my own mind to be able to turn the preamp gain down more than I actually could. I mean, it is obviously boosting the signal. I'm not using a very long lead. I try and keep the lead lengths to a minimum, and obviously I'm only going from the microphone here down to the interface, which is now currently sitting on the floor. So the lead length isn't an issue at all. It'd be nice to, just for peace of mind, to have been cranking the preamp gain or the mic pre back a bit more than I actually could, but it is obviously making a difference. I think there might be a slight bit of hiss being induced by it. It's very hard to tell because when you turn up the preamp or turn up the headphone monitoring to listen, are you inducing it by the volume of the microphone amplifier, the headphone amplifier, rather than actually the device itself? It's hard to know, but I think, you can be the judge. I'm using it now and there's pauses in conversation, so there are quiet patches. If you think there's noise there, let me know in the comments. It's always, we always like hearing your comments and your feedback on stuff, what we got wrong and what we got right. I think, for £17, it was worth a punt, very definitely. Definitely helps boost the signal on the microphone, and it would probably prove a lot more beneficial with things like if it was in front of maybe a louder sound source than actually just my voice, or maybe even a strummed acoustic guitar or something like that. But I don't think the noise level would be intrusive in recording. I think it's low enough that you're having to listen for it or actually think, is it there or isn't it there? But as I say, you can be the judge of that because you can listen back to the audio. Well, we hope that proved both informative and interesting to you. And we'll see you again soon in the Room of Rock with Ted and I.